My high school years were on 116th Street between Fishers and Carmel, Indiana, right after moving there from Ireland when I was 12. We were surrounded by farms, meadows, creeks, forests, and the best part was the river. Our family house was right on the White River. Some of the old folks here still called it the Wappahoney, the old Delaware Indian name. Summers with my friend Julie and her two sisters were river warm and green, hiking through the woods. We cut through yards and cul-de-sacs on our bikes. We canoed up and down the river, camping on the islands, hunting and fishing with our dogs, a foursome of tomgirls. Camping, we rehashed old stories we heard, but pretended not to believe around campfires. And behind Julie's house, behind the house where she and her sisters still live, there's a wooded ravine that is called Heady Hollow, with Shoemaker's Creek running through it, down to the river, past a few surviving huge virgin trees. We were 4 in those days: me, Julie, Cindy, and Susan. Teenagers with skinned knees, 22 caliber rifles, Zebco fishing rods, wild hairstyles, and skimpy clothes, trying real hard to keep the boys civil. The subdivision where Julie lived was new, but the woods weren't. Past my friend's house, the earth fell away into a shaded dip where fog collected like breath on glass. The old folks around the area called it Heady Hollow. They said it was cursed and haunted. They said there used to be a school there in the early 1800s. Some swore it burned down with children in it. Others said a cholera epidemic took children in an old cabin near there. We felt the creepy superstition of the hollow and dared each other to walk to the guardrail on Allisonville Road after dark to listen, just listen, to the hollow and the creek. Sometimes a branch cracked. Sometimes all sound just stopped and there were noises that sounded like a wildcat or maybe children crying. Sometimes we saw what looked like ghostly shapes, thinking it was foxfire or moonlight playing tricks in the dark. Sometimes it was only our heartbeats, loud in our ears. We'd jump at every sound. We'd laugh it off and run back to the safety of the porch light and deck of Julie's house. That's the kind of memory that softens with time. Until Julie's email came. I moved away in my early 20s, kept in touch with my old friends about my whereabouts and paranormal activities, and a few weeks ago, Julie wrote me a midnight email. The subject line was just, Heady Hollow. No greeting, no warming up. It started with, Kira, do you remember the stories of the Hollow? We never left the house, even after our parents passed. The 3 of us just stayed, and life just continued. But after you left and more people started moving in, the Hollow started to become more noticeable. Neighbours and travellers up Allisonville Road started seeing things in the fog at night near the dip in the road. A group of teens had a camp out in the Hollow, cut short by what they described as children crying in the woods. And it sounds impossible, but something down there in the Hollow found its way into our house. She attached 3 voice notes, 1 from each sister. For night feed, if you think it matters, she said. But mostly for you. I pressed play. Julie said it began in the room we used to call the boom room, the room under the back deck. She said it still has the same carpet, same couch, pool table, TV that played video movies, the Jimi Hendrix poster still on the wall, and the old pinball machine. She said there was a plastic bin of her niece and nephew's old toys under the coffee table, dolls, blocks, a wooden train set. One night she wakes up to a sound pattern. Small clicks, like wooden wheels on a wooden track, she says. She sits up, thinking it's the ice maker. The sound moves, louder at the hall, then quieter, then closer again. She walks out of the bedroom naked, with a small flashlight turned off because the house knows her feet. In the boom room, she hears the sound again and turns her light on. The bin of toys is pulled halfway out. The train's on the rug, a crooked loop that stops at the couch leg. Julie kneels and hears it, like breath not from her, in the quiet spot under the table. A child's breath. She whispers half asleep, "Do you need help?" And the train moves, not a lot, not like a jump scare, just enough to bump the couch leg and stop. Thinking she's half dreaming, she heads back to bed. Morning comes with rational answers. Rodents, house settling, dream. She put the train set away. But the second night, the sound loop is back. And this time, the wooden engine is pointed toward the back door and the woods beyond. "Kira," Julie says on the recording, "I know it sounds weird, but it felt like someone small trying to get our attention." Cindy's recording was next. She had always been the practical one. In her note, she apologizes for the drama, then her breath stumbles when she gets to the part about the window. "It's not a view, exactly," she says. "It's a reminder of the superstitions beyond the dark line of trees." Their back windows look into the ravine, the dip where fog pools on autumn nights. She said she started seeing small, slowly moving shapes when it was foggy out. 3, the number kept repeating. 3 small, what looked like bodies with pale ovals where faces should be. She thought her mind was playing tricks on her, but it was too consistent. One night, fog pressed right against the glass. She leaned close, finger drawing a circle in the moisture, and a small handprint bloomed on the other side of the glass, the size of a preschooler's in the center of the circle. Then, 3 fingertip taps, deliberate. She wiped the glass. Nothing. "They weren't trying to scare me," Cindy says, voice small. "They were, it seems, kind of asking to be seen." Susan, the youngest, was next. Her note is the hardest to listen to. It starts with apology. "I know memory plays tricks." And then a whisper purls under her words. She says the house has begun to repeat itself at night, even when it's not foggy outside. Not house creaks, but soft-spoken phrases. "We're still here. It was the smoke. We had to be quiet." Sometimes she hears names, not shouted, remembered. 2 boys, 1 girl. She tries to write them down as she hears them, but the vowels are old, sliding sideways, as if they belong to a time before roads and fences, an older form of English. She says the voices never pass the hallway. They pool there on the edge of the boom room, like the fog does outside. I started digging and researching the Heady Hollow legends, half ashamed it took me so long. The stories really do go back. People have said there was a small 1-room schoolhouse near Allisonville Road and 126th Street in the early 1800s. Some insist it burned, children trapped inside on a fog-choked day. Others say the children died in a cabin during a cholera epidemic. Others say their graves were moved, or not moved at all when the subdivisions platted in. And then there's the cemetery, the Heady family plots tucked close to the neighborhood, names softened by rain and time on ancient white-aged stone. In the back, 3 small, unreadable stones marking children's graves. What sticks with me isn't proof, it's the repetition of the stories. The same dip on Allisonville Road, the same fog, the same strange quiet before the childlike sounds of crying begin, the same childlike apparitions holding hands. We always called it the Hollow because that's what it is, a shape that holds what falls into it. I wrote Julie back, "Tell me about the worst night." She says a storm rolled in, then stalled, like it lost the map. Fog poured down the street and curled into the ravine, whitening the woods. They were all awake without deciding to be, sisters in the boom room where we used to fall asleep to rental movies and stovetop popcorn. The toy bin slid out again, but no one had touched it. The wooden engine faced the back door. Then the house took a breath. That's how Julie described it. Like when a person braces themselves. The HVAC clicked off. The hum dropped away. The room chilled to a shivery, quiet anticipation. 3 taps at the glass. Cindy walked to the sliding door and pulled the curtain an inch, then 2, then slowly all the way. 3 small children stood on the grass just beyond the deck. Not spectral white, not cinematic blue, just drained of color, like everything else in the fog. Like the fog had taken shapes and had just enough ethereal light to make them stand out. They held hands, wore 19th century clothes. The smallest in the middle, a girl, bare feet on wet grass. Julie came up, opened the door, then whispered, "Do you need help?" The same words she'd used to the empty air beneath the coffee table. The smallest one looked up, and the middle of her face was wrong. Not broken, erased. Like fog had taken the place where a mouth should be. Susan said, trying to hide the quiver in her voice, "Can you tell me your names?" And the fog moved slightly. Not the children, just the fog, like a curtain tugged by an unseen hand. The small voices then came from everywhere at once, not loud, just childlike, inside, outside, in the drywall, in the hollow, beyond the deck. Thin, old, sad voices that had long practiced being quiet. We waited. We stayed together. We were told to be still. The train rolled forward an inch, then another, tapping the door track gently. Julie reached for the door to close it. "No," Cindy said, grabbing her wrist. "Why?" Susan said. "They're not trying to scare us." Julie hit the porch light and it flooded on. The bulb hummed. The children dissolved into the fog so fast it left after images on their eyes like sparks. 3 sets of wet footprints remained in the grass, 2 larger, 1 small, no stride marks away, just presence and then absence. She clicked the light off again and the house exhaled. My friends haven't moved. The house is theirs as much as it is for the children of the hollow. Layers of time stacked like wallpaper, the old patterns bleeding through the new paint. On my phone, I still have the voice notes. I play them sometimes before I sleep in a cabin far from Indiana. I picture the dip in the road, the river beyond the trees, the fog where the world lets itself be thin. My 3 rambunctious friends, fond teen memories. I don't know if it was a burning school or sickness in a cabin or just some other cruelty. The legends argue, the land remembers. The small ghost children are a part of their house now appearing when the fog is thick. Not to scare, but more like just wanting to be children. When the house is very still and a fog rolls in, Julie says she can hear 3 light taps at the window, like a code no one living knows anymore. And sometimes, I swear, I hear it too, not through glass, through memory, and the melancholy, we're still here. If you have ever lived near Allisonville Road and 126th Street between Fishers and Noblesville, Indiana, and you remember any stories about Heady Hollow, or if the children of the fog ever spoke to you, or you heard them or have seen them, write to us. Some places keep their own kind of roll call. Hey, Kira here. If you like these stories and would like to hear more, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.